Greetings, Internet world. Here in the Beat Sessions, I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Belle and Sebastian. It did not take them long to return to us with a new record. It's entitled Late Developers, and they released that on January 13th. This is the 10th studio album for the Scottish outfit, and it's their follow up to 2022's A Bit of Previous, an excellent record. I'd say if I'd done a top 20 albums of 2022 instead of a top 10, I would have featured that record for sure. And I'm enjoying this phase for the band coming off of these COVID writing sessions. If you're not familiar, it's a great talking point. You talk about just going with the flow and all of us having to upend our plans, make sacrifices, and give things up in that time frame. These guys had a collection of songs and they were getting ready to go to LA to record them. They end up getting grounded in Scotland. And when they're able to reconvene, there's just this organic process that begins as far as songwriting goes. And they end up scrapping a lot of that original material and going with the flow of those sessions. And you can feel that in the recordings of both of these records. It's excellent that they were able to produce so much material and in a way that, both of these records, the continuity is amazing considering the range of music, all the different influences that are being covered. And I like that they backed off a little bit on the pop. Girls in Peacetime Want to Dance, it's a good record, but it was almost just a little too sugar coated in a lot of ways. And Stewart, Sarah Martin, all of these musicians, they're great songwriters. And so lyrically, I feel that both of these projects a little more insightful. Stewart's a guy especially that has been well known for being relatively spiritual, and so I like the perspective lyrically on both of these records. And in a time when we need more of that open, togetherness and that feeling of just of life will be okay. Sometimes it might not work out necessarily the way that you planned, and you might have to navigate it in a different manner. But much like these records, it's what makes them so much fun. It's this uncertain path that once you hit play, you're not really certain where where these collections of songs are going to go. Definitely grounded in Americana. I appreciate that about them, but there's a big soft rock feel, and I'm loving it because I just watched Sometimes When We Touch. I love the documentary. We're going to be talking about it on Tuesday during the live show, but it feels like this full circle moment, especially for a band like Belle and Sebastian that's been around for almost 30 years. Starting off, you listen to their early stuff, more of a rock and roll and indie folk drive there, but these records in the last decade, there's so much going on. There's obviously a pop drive, a big pop drive, but there's funk and pop and some of those light, kind of like soft rock styles, a little bit of yacht rock, a little bit of soul and R&B. But I do like the folk influence that still play in a lot of these tracks here. It's really just it feels almost kind of like, and it's a beef that some people that I've talked to that enjoy this band have had with them, but we're in a spot right now where I think musically we've come full circle, almost kind of off of that moment, going through the 90s, going through the 2000s, where you can hear this influence everywhere. And it's what's in that polished, shiny kind of production. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think there's plenty of artists out there that are doing their own thing, providing us enough variety of music. But I think that we are just in that time, we are in that trend. And what these guys are doing is, just making music that is very much in their wheelhouse, in their vein, but it's definitely, I can see how you could throw this record on for someone who's never heard of this band and how they could feel a lot of what is going on here because there's so many great catchy melodies and hooks. Just such a fun record from start to finish. Juliet Naked is your opening track. It's got a great intro. I like the acoustic and electric guitars that open this song up. Love the tempo and the vocal that enters as well. And this is a song where I kept waiting for it to take off. And then as I kept listening to it, there was almost kind of this like, I'm enjoying the restraint of this track, and it never hit, like it never took off, and I enjoyed it as an opener for that reason. I think it worked really well, and I dig the way that it leads into Give a Little Time. Your second song, Sarah, coming in really strong on this. I really enjoyed Sarah Martin's performance on this record. I think she is just absolutely stellar on this collection of songs, arguably the highlight, really. But bright melodies and a full composition that we got on the opener, but it's just really pop driven. It feels so fresh and so good, and that's one of the things that documentary talked about. It's it's one of those things that I think everybody finally realized, that the music just feels so good. It just feels so good to just mellow out and chill and just kind of, drift along, whether it's on a boat or on a lazy river in a raft or whatever you're doing. But I dig that feel, and I dig that vibe that really dominates a lot of this record. When We Were Very Young is your third track. Switching things up a little bit here. I do like the change of pace on this song. Bass and electric driven. It's I really like the bass on this particular song. It's got a pretty solid post-punk and new wave feel. And this, gosh, Stewart like his vocals so often remind me of Nico. I really enjoy that. I think it's a great influence feeling there. There's a really just a lovely piano breakdown in that song as well that I enjoyed. Will I Tell You a Secret, your fourth track? Pretty minimal, folk driven track. I like that component there. It really reminded me of Simon and Garfunkel, where there's there's this keyboard or guitar arrangement that it's very much sounding like a harpsichords at play there, and it's got that just kind of like Jester in the Courtyard kind of feel that influenced a lot of Simon and Garfunkel's music. But it's a great element. I really like the way it's at play on this song. So in the Moment, Stevie Jackson coming in pretty strong on this thing. I like him on this particular track. And this thing is so aptly titled. It is just it comes out rocking. I love the energy. There's a bit of folk that's in there as well. Like I love the presence of there, and I think it makes for a great transition coming off Will I Tell You a Secret? And two very different songs, but there's that commonality there that creates the continuity, and it's what makes their project so much fun. And especially as we've gotten later on, and as this band has opened up, as they've added more members and there are more influences at play. But I like the bright melodies, the garage rock component of that song. So in the Moment, definitely a great track. And then The Evening Star is going to wrap up your A side. This is my favorite track on the record. This song is amazing. It's just gloriously honky tonk driven. It just settles into like soul, funk, a little bit of country. Such a jam. It's such a marvelous way to close the A side of the record, and no doubt the best song on this thing. When You're Not With Me is our seventh track. Great opening bass on this thing. I absolutely love Sarah and her performance on this song as well. The percussion comes in really nice, and then just what a cool funky tune this thing ends up being. It's got great minimalism. Sarah's vocals, great compliment. It just a very nice performance there. I Don't Know What You See in Me is your ace song. Now, I gotta say, this this is a minor hiccup in my opinion. This is a song that I'm very curious to see what all of you think in the comments about this thing, because this is kind of reminding me of Girls in Peacetime. This thing is so sugar coated, and it was almost too much for me, and I'm still having to like give it some listens to see if it's going to grow on me, but it's not my favorite song that Stewart's ever thrown down. Do you follow your ninth song? Great harmonies between Sarah and Stewart on this thing. I love this song. It's got funky bass groove, great guitars on this thing. Combo of reggae, a little bit of desert rock, just that tone in the guitar that is super excellent. When the Cynics Stare Back from the Walls is your penultimate track. Breezy, acoustic driven, soft rock track. Talking about it, I mean, it's very obvious on this particular song, but I feel like there's so much of that general feel and that spirit driving this record. But just another great exchange of harmonies on this song. Camera Obscura and then Tracy Ann Campbell, I believe, are both of the musicians that are featured on that track. But the harmonies are outstanding. I mean, definitely a highlight of this record for sure. A wonderful song. And then Late Developers, your title track. This thing, it comes out screaming with just that yacht rock and soft rock feel. I love the flavor. It is a wonderful way to close this record. And it's a wonderful debate to have as well. Please, let's talk about it in the comments. I want to see if you're a bigger fan of Late Developers or Bit of Previous. It's tough to tell. These are both phenomenal records. I think that this is easily going to be on the radar for top 10 presence, and deservingly so. We're going to get vinyl please this bad boy, and I hope you enjoy it. Hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all of the things to help us blow this project up in 2023. Stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews, and check out the live show on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right, we had to correct that. I'll get that time correct for you. And go Dolphins. It was a hell of an effort. I really appreciate the season, boys. You guys were fun to watch. In the meantime, guys, take it easy.